This live stream may contain content that could be perceived as shocking or offensive, but it is presented solely for educational purposes. Viewer discretion is advised. We strive to adhere to community guidelines, and any potentially sensitive material is shared with the intent of fostering understanding and learning.
Yo! What's going on, motherfuckers? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard. Today, we're going to be talking about EDC. Is EDC overrated? Is it cap or nah? I'm going to do my absolute best to not get myself in trouble. I had a video that got absolutely just, I guess you could say it got banned, right? I don't normally get strikes, but I got a strike this week. So I'm trying my best to not get in trouble and get my shit like taken down or anything. So we will do our best, no promises, but I'm going to do my absolute best to try and stay out of trouble. I want to talk about the importance of recognizing the needs of EDC versus talking about this rabbit hole. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're doing better than I am, but I have found myself over the past 4 years, I've gone down this absolute rabbit hole of the things that you need, the things that you should have on you, getting into all the aspects of preparedness, the aspects of being ready. And a lot of this, it stems from, me working in an industry and me working in an environment where this is very much necessary. I need to be able to protect myself based on the fact that I work in a situation, in a circumstance where I have to put myself in proximity, very close proximity to dangerous people. And I think that it's easy when you live in that environment, when you work in that environment. Hell, if you're just paying attention to the news and what's going on around you, like, we live in a dangerous world. I am very adamant that people take the responsibility to protect themselves, to protect their loved ones, right? We saw all throughout COVID that in situations where you need police officers, even if they have the best intention, they still have to get there. And we saw during COVID, during the lockdowns, like, a lot of departments, they weren't responding. You can see right now in some areas, I think there's an area in like maybe Pittsburgh or something, where they're so understaffed that they've literally said, we're not going to be answering calls between the hours of, say, like 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. I mean, something crazy like that. So it's not outside the realm of possibility, outside the realm of reality, that people need to be protected. But the problem is that once you recognize that, it's like you have two sides of the equation. People that absolutely don't ever think about the need to protect themselves or their family. And then you have people on the other side of the equation where it's like all they think about is self-protection, personal readiness, personal preparedness, and you end up going down this rabbit hole. Now, I can understand and see where people would say, look, I would rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I get that. But at some point in time, for myself and for a lot of people, you find that you're literally carrying so much stuff. You have so much stuff on your body. You have so much stuff in your pockets. You have so many items that you just can't, you can't function. So I saw this video on Instagram and it perfectly described what my life has been and what I think a lot of guys' lives have been once you go down this EDC rabbit hole. I want to share that with you. But before we do that, let's just talk about it. For the people who are watching this video, you have no idea what I'm even talking about. What is EDC? Everyday carry, where EDC as an industry, it includes a wide range of personal items like pocket knives, flashlights, multi-tools, various tactical gear, right? And it generates a significant amount of revenue annually. While exact figures can vary, estimates suggest that EDC and the market itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? The growth, oh wait, hang on a second here. Almost messed that up here. Let me do this. The growth of the EDC market is driven by an increasing interest in preparedness, self-reliance, and the practical utility of these items among a broad consumer base that includes outdoor enthusiasts, first responders, and general customers who appreciate the functionality and the convenience of EDC products. Guys, I want to share with you this video. The video comes from a page. I believe his name is Andrew Russo. Okay. Video comes from Andrew Russo. All credits. This is under fair use. I want to share this with you because this is literally what my life has been, what I think a lot of guys' lives has been. Your wives probably think that this is what we do on a daily basis. Everybody stand by. Look at this.
The basics on me. Yeah, I mean, phone, wallet, keys, that's like my everyday carry. Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes multi-tool. If I'm feeling like it. You know, I'll throw in a flashlight in there. Sometimes you gotta be able to see, but for me, if I'm just popping outside, it's like tourniquet, pocket knife, glass breaker. Okay. You know how it is. But you know, I like to keep a field notebook and a tactical pen on me so that I can jot down ideas on how to optimize my EDC. You know, I mean, it's an EDC for an EDC. You don't? I do. But for me, you know, I'm more of an 18 feet of good rope on my carry at all times type of guy. That's my speed. 18 feet every day. Whenever I need to rappel. You too. Yeah, no, I do. But I also EDC a Glock. Every day with the Glock. Yeah. With the switch too. You know how it is. Armor plates for me. Plated up every day. Lightweight. Offense, defense. You know how it is. Nah, I tend to keep some space for my telescope. How you do that? You fit that on you. My pockets have pockets. You know, I get it. That's why I got the UAV on standby. You can't carry what you don't see, you know. I'm sure you do the same thing. EDC aerial reconnaissance makes sense. You know how that EDC life be. Sure do, but I tend to carry an entire library of heritage grains and seeds in Mylar bags so that I could, on a whim, like Noah's Ark, rebuild the entire food chain. So self-reliant of you. I'm sure you're way ahead, though. Sure am. I just try to EDC enough power banks and solar panels who identifies a fusion reactor, but you know how it is. Cool. You know, I was dropping my 3-year-old daughter at a birthday party the other day, and I said, thank God I got my EDC thermite on me, in case I need to breach and clear some steel doors over some cupcakes. But you get what I'm carrying. Smart same, because I felt so safe rolling through the Taco Bell drive-thru EDCing my Javelin, Fire and Forget, Death from Above, anti-armor warhead system. But surely you as well can carry this logic? And I pray every day that I turn into some kind of Batman, Inspector Gadget, walking keychain freak so I can fulfill my role as a sacrificial drone of usefulness to society, because the more things I said that makes her a choice on me, the more secure I am in my masculinity. Wait. What do you actually have in your pockets right now? Fidget toy lip balm. You? A button and an almond.
I work with a guy, shout out to my man Adam. I literally work with a guy who is, he has almost anything and everything you can think about, right? Like my man has night vision. My man has like every kind of armor plate. My man has every riser, doohickey, and dad. Like my man is absolutely prepped for everything. He is the quintessential EDC, like the EDC god. And it blows my mind. He'll always ask me questions just like this. You know, what are you carrying? What do you have on you? Like what's in your kit? What's in your car kit? What's in your go bag? And I'm always like, bro, like I have, you know, a fucking snub nose revolver, a goddamn ice pick knife, and maybe some pepper spray, you know. But it's at that point where like this is what a lot of people are doing. So my question is like, how do we break out of that rabbit hole? I think that sometimes for me, I wonder if I'm carrying too little. You know, you guys have seen that I've gone through this back and forth with like carrying a snub nose, carrying a compact semi-automatic. I've even gone back to a full-size, you know, Glock 45. Just this weekend, I was carrying a full-size Glock 45, you know, just trying to see what it felt like to have something, you know, I'm about to sound like really out of pocket here, have something that large in my pants, pause, right? And then I put the red dot back on it. You know, I'm like, man, is this something that I should be carrying? I'm one of those people. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I am one of those people who is probably the most insecure in terms of what I carry on my EDC. I love the simplicity. I love the comfort. I love the lightweight, minimalistic feel of having a snub nose and a small knife in a pocket carry position, right? I feel that having pepper spray is probably a great idea if you're dealing with a dog or you're dealing with somebody where you don't really want to have to go all the way into a physical confrontation. But I'm one of those people, man. I'm on the message boards. I'm on Reddit. I'm on all of the websites and the YouTube channels and the Instagram channels. And when you're on Instagram and you're going through these pages where everybody's carrying all this cool shit, you're like, man, like I can see where that's needed. Like I want that. And I feel that I'm not the only person that finds himself going into this rabbit hole. So I want to talk about my top 5 tips. I kind of asked myself today, like, what can I do if I were to share this information with people? What can we do to kind of break free of this? Because I don't think that I'm the only person. Clearly, if the EDC industry is bringing in billions of dollars every year, we're seeing the rise of companies like Fieldcraft Survival. Aside from the situation that Mike Glover seems to have found himself in, but companies like Fieldcraft Survival, companies like GBRS, these companies that are promoting preparedness, promoting EDC readiness, promoting tactics, things like that. It's huge. It's huge in 2024. It's probably going to only get bigger as we move forward. So here's number 5. Okay. I wrote all this out. I thought about it. This is what I'm sharing with you guys. All right. Number 5, prioritize practicality. Focus on the EDC items that you genuinely need and that you would use regularly. Avoid buying items just because they seem cool or trendy without considering their real world application. Now, I would love a set of night vision goggles just as much as anybody else. I would love to have the helmet, the fucking goggles, all that shit. And I can totally see the application for it. The issue is that what's the reality of you utilizing that? Now, some people are going to be like, hey man, like with everything going on in the world, there's a large reality that you might actually need that. I don't disagree. I think that for the vast majority of us, the things that we're more than likely going to come across are potential home invasions, definitely like robberies, assaults, crimes of opportunity. I can see where that is a legitimate concern, especially if you're like me and you live in a city like Portland. I've told you guys all the time, I have people literally right across the street that are running a drug house. So the possibility of random violence, the possibility of crimes of opportunity, that is something that I have to worry about. So if you're living in that type of environment, I think that all of us should have access to weaponry and firearms in our home. If you are living in an area where, potentially these random acts of violence are more possible, then, definitely you need to prepare for that. But things like night vision, things like fucking, flashbangs, any of these more trendy items, I think you really need to ask yourself, is that something that you have to have? Now, if you have the financial ability and you just want shit, then by all means. But I'm talking about people like me that tend to convince themselves that they need certain items and maybe you don't need those items. Number 4 is going to be to limit duplication. This has got to be one of my biggest issues, right? Resist the urge to buy multiple versions of the same item. One high quality versatile tool can often replace several less effective ones, reducing clutter and unnecessary spending. I am sitting in what I call the war room. I have so many redundant items. I'm not going to mention them. I'm not going to show them, but I can tell you that anything that you can think about in terms of EDC items, I probably have 4, if not 10 of them. I am the person that literally gets something in their head and I go balls deep and I just purchase any and every colorway, option, and I have so much just clutter. Literally, I'm looking at my shit in here right now. It's crazy. Try to limit that. Number 3, that was 5. This is 4. Number 3 is going to be quality over quantity. Invest in durable, high quality items that will last longer and perform better. This approach saves money in the long run by avoiding frequent replacements of cheaper items. I am a goon for cheap items. Now, I will say that some items, and I will show this item, some items like your EDC knives, guys, if you find a good company, I'm a big fan of these Kanku knives. These Kanku knives are made of D2 steel. I am not sponsored by them. Sorry, I almost stabbed myself in the leg there. I'm not sponsored by them, but they make some really awesome knives. I had someone the other day that was like, those knives are not realistic in a self-defense situation. You need something that's larger than that, like these karambit ring style knives. They're trendy items. They're not legitimate self-defense tools. Guys, I have to completely disagree. I'm going to deviate from what we're talking about real quick, just so I can make this point. The reality of self-defense and personal protection for the vast majority of us, we're not going to find ourselves in a fight. You're definitely more than likely never going to find yourself in a knife fight, right? This isn't like the Philippines. We don't live in Brazil. For most of us who are carrying items, if someone pulls a knife on us in reality, in real life, in everyday life, if we're carrying a firearm, we're going to end that threat. We're not going to get into a knife fight. The whole purpose of carrying a knife in terms of my EDC is just to be able to break that contact, to be able to have a secondary option if for some reason my firearm is not there. But I'm not looking to get into a knife fight with someone. I think having a item like this and being able to utilize it in the way that you can think of utilizing it in order to break that contact or create space, I think that that's going to work. People have been using shivs and shanks and ice picks in all types of scenarios, and they've been extremely effective for, the entirety of human civilization. So I do think that a lot of times we're misunderstanding and we're misconstruing why we have these items. These items are to put you in a situation where you're able to get someone to leave you alone, get them off of you, and potentially get you to a secondary location. You're not supposed to be getting into a gun battle or a knife fight. I know that you don't always have that choice, and sometimes those things find you. But if you're avoiding certain situations, more than likely you will not need to be getting into these large fights with people. Let's see here. Number 2 was set a budget. I have a huge problem with this. I can't budget for shit. Establish a clear budget for your EDC purchases and stick to it. This helps control spending and ensures that you're only buying what is truly necessary and within your financial means. I have a huge problem buying ARs that I really cannot afford, and I need to stop. All right. Number 1, and probably the most important thing and the most applicable to my situation, is assessing risk situations. Avoid placing yourself in high risk environments like strip clubs. Cue the strip club video, right? Or nightclubs. Cue the nightclub video, where the perceived need for certain EDC items might increase, right? Staying safe reduces the need. Guys, I try my absolute best to avoid sketchy places. Unfortunately, I live in a sketchy place. But aside from that, I do not go to strip clubs. I don't go to nightclubs. I rarely find myself in a bar or a pub. Clearly, like if we are going to live our lives, if we're going to socialize with people, if we're going to spend time out in public, there's always a possibility that something can happen and you need to be protected. That's why I'm a huge advocate of the Second Amendment, people being able to conceal carry, have weaponry on their person, because at any given time, something could happen and you need to be able to protect yourself. But if you're going to sketchy places, at sketchy times around sketchy people, the probability that you're going to need any items, whether it's a minimalist setup or you have every single item you can possibly carry, the probability of you needing those items goes up exponentially, right? Just avoiding horrible places with horrible people at horrible times of the night will really reduce the need for a lot of these items. Now, I do want to make it clear. I am not saying that EDC is cap. I'm not saying that EDC is overrated. I think that the lifestyle that many of us find ourselves in, where we are kind of buying into everything that goes along with the EDC lifestyle, right? What am I talking about? This need for jujitsu, this need for, certain types of fitness or weightlifting, this need for certain types of clothing, carrying certain types of firearms, having a certain number of extra magazines, a certain type of knife, a certain type of tourniquet. At the end of the day, having what you need, and only you can make that decision, right? Having what is best for you and your situation and feeling comfortable and confident with that. For the remainder of 2024, my goal is to get comfortable and confident with my setup. Like I've said earlier in this video, I've kind of gone back and forth with what I think is best for me, but I know what I feel more comfortable with. I feel more comfortable with that revolver. I feel more comfortable with those small knives, similar to this with the draw ring on it. And if you're comfortable with something, that's what you should rock, right? So let me get a couple of these comments in here before we get out. Luke makes a very, very good point. First comment, I am burnt out on EDC gear. Dude, I 100% agree with you. Let's see here. Abe Blanton says, flashlight, comms, and weapons, bare minimum. Yeah, you got to make sure you have that cell phone. Guys, if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a self-defense issue, where you've had to go hands-on with someone, even if you've pepper sprayed someone, you need to make sure that you're the first person that's reporting that to law enforcement. I have a story that I haven't shared with you guys on this channel. I'm trying to give it a little bit of time to let the situation breathe, but I was involved in a self-defense situation where, I had to persuade someone to make a different choice. I had to contact law enforcement, and I had to contact my personal self-defense insurance provider. Very important for us to be prepared to do what is necessary, but also understanding how the reporting process goes, having that insurance to be able to reach out to that insurance. God forbid you need someone to bail you out or someone to represent you in court. That stuff is also very, very important. A different aspect of EDC is having all of your ducks in a row if you need to utilize your items. So I agree with you, man. Comms, very important, making sure that you're contacting law enforcement. Michael says, are you an ex-SEAL? Absolutely not. I was in the Air Force and the farthest thing from a combat operator that you can imagine. What's your thoughts on the Ruger MK5? I am not a big fan of the MK5. Everything Ruger that I like is in the snub nose 2-inch barrel category. I don't really fuck with anything else that Ruger makes other than their snub nose. And Joshua says he's like the 22 long rifle. Now, I will say 22 long is highly underrated. A lot of people will say that 22 long is not something that you can carry for self-defense. I disagree. If you have a revolver, a lot of times the 22 longs are like an 8-shot. You fill somebody up with 8 stingers of 22 long, they're going to make different choices. And I believe that 22 long and 22 Magnum probably per capita have more bodies than any other caliber. 22 is legit. So let's do a quick recap on my top 5 ways to kind of lessen the impact of the EDC lifestyle. Number 5, prioritize practicality. Make sure you're carrying what you need for the situations and circumstances that you might find yourself in. Now, guys, look, you never know where you're going to be when something pops off, when something might happen. And it's important, whether you're working, whether you're going through your daily life, to make sure that you are prepared. Number 4, limit duplication. Big issue that I have. Buying multiples of the same item. You don't have to do that. Quality over quantity was number 3. Investing in durable, high quality items that will last you longer and perform better. Number 2 was setting a budget. My biggest issue, purchasing what you can afford and not going over that budget. And then number 1, most importantly, guys, was what? It was to assess the risk, right? Avoid placing yourself in situations like nightclubs. Avoid putting yourself in situations like strip clubs. Stay out of sketchy places at sketchy times around sketchy people doing sketchy shit, and you will lower your need. You will lower your need for a lot of those items. All right. So guys, I'm interested. What are your thoughts on this? What do you feel about the EDC lifestyle? Are you getting caught up like I am, or are you pretty much sticking to what you need and only sticking to what you need? I want your opinions in the comments. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next stream. All right, y'all take care.
Shot for the round and mid deploy. Ran up from a dollar, catch a slow. What? Nego. Oh boy, free and for what to the project.